I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to suppress myself when it comes to emotions and negative experiences that I go through and that I experience within myself, and to have this sort of immediate reaction of, oh no, I can't, I can't show my emotions, and I can't um be going through this, and whatever it is that I'm going through, whatever it is that I'm experiencing, this is not, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and because everything needs to be fine all the time, and everything needs to be all right all the time. And instead of being real with myself about how I'm actually experiencing myself, and actually being caring of myself in terms of checking in with myself and being like, hey, what's going on? How are you actually feeling inside? And so I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that I'm actually constantly living that pattern of suppression, of like just constantly suppressing any sort of negative experience that goes on inside myself. Like anytime that there is like an insecurity or a fear or anxiety or any negative experience coming up inside of me, I just immediately try to suppress it. It's like I immediately try to sort of stay on top of it. Literally like where I sometimes almost um feel myself kind of um going higher. It's like I'm trying to just it's like my emotions are this sea level that's rising and rising, and I'm just trying to stay above it, trying not to see it, or trying to just look away from it like it's not there. Nope, I'm fine. Everything's all right. Everything's fine. Meanwhile, what's actually going on inside of me is that I just feel super anxious, super insecure. There's so many fears coming up, which is actually how I most of the time experience myself. Like most of the time, I actually feel quite insecure or um, just bad or negative. So so I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to develop this pattern of just completely almost trying to ignore any negative experiences inside myself. And this pattern of really being completely disconnected from myself, being completely disconnected from how I actually feel inside, from my actual internal experiences, which are pretty much always negative, always unpleasant, uncomfortable. It's always some form of anxiety or fear or stress, where it's like I've just developed this pattern of always pretending like, oh, everything's positive, everything's fine. Everything's perfect. No, I'm not going through anything. If I'm fine. And I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that I've copied that pattern from my father, in terms of never showing any emotions, never being open about emotions, never um, admitting or even seeing or even being aware of there ever being any emotions. Like literally just completely ignoring and suppressing my emotional state. That this is something I just copied from my father because he was like that. Where I then also just became like that because I obviously trusted my parents and looked up at them and wanted to be like them, or wanted their approval and therefore became like them, thinking that how they are and who they are and how they do things and how they live and exist is how it should be. It's perfect and it's the right way of being, never questioning anything, never looking into anything, never asking myself questions like, is this actually what's best? Is this actually supportive? Is this actually good? Never realizing that this pattern of suppressing what you're going through inside yourself in terms of your emotions is not supportive. It's not what's best. It's not in any way what's best at all. And I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see and realize and understand that just like this pattern isn't who I really am, it also wasn't who my father really was. Because it's also just something that he developed during childhood in relation to his own parents, where he also learned that apparently expressing your emotions is bad, or he learned to suppress himself, or he felt like he was never heard or seen or considered, or where he felt like the people around him also expected him to just have no emotions or to show no emotions or to never express himself. So he just also learned to suppress, to never express and show and even be honest about how he's actually feeling inside and what he's actually going through. And to always basically pretend as though everything's fine and everything's all right, and I've have no emotions and nothing's going on inside of me, and everything's just perfect. And I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that what is best is to be honest, is just self honesty, to be honest with myself about what I'm actually going through instead of living within this one shoe fits all kind of principle where it's like, oh, I'm just supposed to not feel anything. I'm supposed to sort of be this perfect model, like I'm just supposed to be this like um perfectly stable human being who doesn't go through anything, who doesn't have anything going on inside, who is always stable and is always on top of everything and is always just perfectly fine, and like nothing's ever really going on. And I forgive myself that I've never accepted and allowed myself to actually see and realize and understand that actually that there are consequences of that. That suppressing your emotions puts a lot of stress on your body. It puts a lot of pressure and stress on your internal organs to always just suppress what's going on inside, to never really resolve your emotions, but actually compress them and intensify them by literally sort of pushing them down, wherein it's a form of hurting myself. By doing that, I'm actually hurting myself because it's like I'm pushing back any emotions that I'm experiencing, um, rather than letting it out and releasing it, which is what is best. To release emotions, to resolve them, to get through them instead of just ignoring them and pretending that they're not there, because at the end of the day, they're still there. It's still all right there. and it's not going to just go away on its own just because I'm ignoring it or just because I'm suppressing it. Like, I have to actually find ways to get through whatever it is that I'm going through. And I don't know, maybe for my father it was easier to suppress his emotions because maybe because he's a male and I'm a female and females are more emotional. Maybe females just have like a more emotional predisposition. So maybe that's why for me it just doesn't work. I can't be suppressing my emotions because it does take a toll on my physical health. It does take a toll on just on me, on my overall state of being, and just where it's like I get to a point where I just can't take it anymore, and I just feel like, and my body is telling me I cannot keep suppressing myself. I cannot keep suppressing my emotions. Like, I have to be honest with myself about what I'm going through, and I have to release emotions, and I have to actually assist and support myself to get through the things I'm going through inside myself instead of pretending like everything's fine, because the reality is that everything is not fine, that I'm going through things, and I have to be honest about that. And I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to also realize and understand that everybody's different, and to stop comparing myself to my father, and to realize that, okay, well, maybe suppressing his emotions or pretending like everything's fine worked for him, but you know what? It doesn't work for me because I'm not him. I'm me. I have to do what's best for me. I have to take care of myself. I can't just apply what I see somebody else doing, expecting that it's going to have the same results for me, because I'm not somebody else. I am me. I am unique. I am, an individual, and I have my own individual sort of needs and ways of existing. And I need to figure out what's best for me and do and give to myself what's best for me, which is to be open and honest about what I'm going through, and to care for myself and assist and support myself to, instead of pretending like everything's fine, instead of hiding and suppressing negative emotions under positive experiences, to actually look at what I'm really going through as these negative experiences and then find solutions, walk myself through it into solutions, looking at, okay, well, how can I change? How can I change these experiences? Realizing that obviously this is not best for me. Obviously this is not how I should be experiencing myself. So let's have a look at how we can change this. How can I change things for myself so that I can be more calm and peaceful and like in a real way, not just on a superficial way of like everything's fine, but on an internal level. How can I assist and support myself to be more just stable and calm and peaceful rather than always going through some negative emotion, which I then end up suppressing under a positive. Okay, well, I'm just gonna leave it here and continue on my own. Thanks for watching.